This is the one of the older models, came out in 2007-ish. So what we're going to do first is you have to remove the battery before you do anything for your safety. Just put that aside. First flip the computer over and open up your lid, and just kind of want to put it all the way to the back as far as it goes. And there's going to be 4 little rubber things. I want to remove those to reveal screws. Set those aside. To reveal screws, and there's also 2 smaller ones at the left and the right bottom corners. Remove those to reveal those screws. There should be a total of 4 screws, and you go ahead and remove those screws with a small screwdriver, electronic screwdriver. I went ahead and unscrewed these to save a little bit of time. I have to shake them out a little bit. Tap them out. Yeah, so how does this pop out? Still on there. Just make sure you put the screws somewhere, you won't lose them. There's still a little on there. There it goes. Right out. Last one at the very, very bottom. That's good. Alright, next step is to remove the bezel, which is this black outlining here. I've already done this before, so the bezel is pretty much already coming apart very easily. It's going to be a little bit harder when you do it the first time. You just want to make sure to, at the bottom, just make sure that you kind of gently lift on those ends. If you have to get a butter knife or a flathead screwdriver to kind of pry that open, it should pry open pretty easily. Just be very careful on the sides, and just remove the bezel, put it to one side, and this is reveals the screen. If you look on each of the 4 sides here, on the side there's going to be more screws. There's normally 3 on each side, but this one only has 2. So we're going to remove these 2 screws. Put those to the side. Normally there's 3, but some may have just 2. In this case, my computer only has 2 screws holding that screen in place. We're going to do the same for the left hand side. Unscrews and screws. And on the side, make sure you don't mix up the inside screws with the bezel screws. There are 2 different types of screws. Normally the bezel screws will be a little darker, just depending on how old your laptop is. I said mine is 2007. Once you've gotten the screws undone, you can go ahead and remove the actual screen itself. Be very careful. Bring it down onto the keyboard. At this point, this is probably your messed up screen, so you don't really care about covering the screen from the bottom on the keyboard. If you notice here, there's the actual cord to connect to the laptop to the screen, and this is a very, very sensitive cord, so be very, very careful when you remove this tape, which is normally some sort of protective tape on there. As I said, I kind of did this before, so that tape's pretty much falling off already. Once you want to very gently remove this cord, very, very gentle, because it's very super thin. If you crack it or any little pin in there, you will mess up this cable and it'll delay your screen replacement process. There's some protective tape that was holding these parts down, so I'm going to remove that tape. Kind of stuck on there. Just be very careful of the wires, make sure you don't crimp them or damage them. And just make sure that the connections are still tight. Just kind of snug in that connection there. Be very careful with the actual cable here. Pull the tape back. If there's a tape, there'll be, you just pull it back, set it aside. And then this is the connector for the bulb. It's this is a 1CCFL backlight screen, and the connector portion, which you'll see on the replacement screen, will fit right into there. So you just disconnect that part, and this will be the part where we actually replace the screen. So, alright, so let's go ahead and replace the screen. This is my first time doing this, so hopefully it comes out good. If not, you will not see this video on YouTube. Alright, so this screen has a protective cover on it. Laptopscreen.com was gracious enough to provide that screen protection. So what we do first is I'm going to go ahead and connect the actual connector. This is for the CCFL backlight connector, which goes in like so. Should just snap in there. Just be very careful, don't apply too much pressure. And actually it goes the other way. Oh, it only will go one way. So once again, it's my first time doing this, so looks like it's going to go in that way. If I could get it in right. Unless it goes the other way. Let's see. Just be very careful. Okay, it's going to go in with the dots. You see little tiny dots there. I don't know if you can make that out, but dots, and then it'll have some serial number, some sort of little number on there. Goes in that way. Should snap into place really quickly, which it just did, so that's good. And then you take your flat laptop cable here that's going to connect into the little grooves of this part of the screen. It should fit in there much like you would fit a Nintendo cartridge or what have you. It's going to kind of slide in there. Make sure you're making solid connection and be very gentle, because apparently this is a very gentle cable connector. Let me see. Okay, looks like it's grooving in there. Okay. Alright, there we go. Snapped in. Just put the tape on there. Just make sure it's nice and even and none of the copper part of the lining is showing. And that is pretty much it. At this point we're going to, actually I gotta put the protective vinyl taping stuff to hold down those wires, make sure they're not going to come back up. This is the same type of stuff, they'll charge you over $200 or $300 to do at a laptop store, so this is definitely a good way to save yourself some money. If you have any protective tape on the screen, you can just remove that, flip it up. It's going to fit right back in. Remove the protective film. Don't need that no more. Okay, now we're going to put the screws back in. I'll try to do this as quick as possible because I only have 15 minutes. I don't know how long it's been, but it feels like it's been forever. So they should go right back in. Oh, there you go. So note to self, the threading on the new screen may be a little different, so if you have trouble getting the screw in a certain place, you can always just try doing the middle or the top. I don't really foresee there being a big problem with that. I'll probably find a few extra screws to mount the other part, or just get the other screws filled in. Yep, fits in like a glove. Yeah, so yeah, I guess the screws are going to vary. They're either going to go in the middle or the top. This replacement screen used it on the top. So okay. So be very careful when putting the bezel back on. You want to make sure to line it up at the bottom first and just kind of snap it in there one direction at a time. Should be a little bendable, but don't bend it too much. You don't want to snap it. This should snap back right on there. Nice and neat, and gently kind of lead in the rest of the bezel. It should basically snap into place. This one has a little laptop opener latch. And the bezel goes underneath that latch. It'll kind of already keep it secure. And at this point, you just screw the screws back in. So just to save some time, so basically screw the screws back in, put the rubber back on. We're going to put the battery back in and see what our results are. Now we may hit the 15-minute mark. We'll just not have to do any edits. Rather boring video, I guess, but let's see what happens. Keep your fingers crossed. And there you have a replaced screen. Thank you very much, laptopscreen.com, and everybody have a good evening.